2021-2022 MSJC Program Review for Instruction, Ellumin Template Instructions. Section 1A, Part 1, Subsection 1A1. For our example, we will use AJ, Administration of Justice. Once inside your Program Review template, scroll down to Section 1A, Student Equity Data. Please follow the link to equity definitions and read them. In particular, study the definition of disproportionate impact and equity groups. They can be a little hard to see, but note the links to video instructions and additional links. Then scroll down to Section 1A1, Course Success Rates. In this section, we will review course success rates for African Americans, Hispanics, and whites in each of your courses. We will locate those courses that have the most significant equity disproportionate impact. Two of these courses that would benefit most from learning outcomes assessment improvements have already been identified for you. You may select an additional course if you choose. These will be the courses for which you will create CLOs in Section 1B1. If you have not done so already, click the Maximize Minimize button to view all the data. First, an overview of the data. This data represents the last 3 full academic years, excluding summer. It represents all sites and all modalities. The data presentation consists of tables that provide the discipline courses down the left-hand column, and then from left to right, the seats enrolled, the number of successful seats, and finally, the success rate. For example, for AJ 101 over the academic years 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-21, excluding summer, there were 1,030 total seats enrolled at census, typically the third Monday of the semester. Note that if a student took the course twice over this time period, perhaps he or she took the course and didn't pass the first time but later took it again during this 3-year period, this would constitute 2 seats of the 1,030. Of these 1,030 seats, 796 were successful. The students earned an A, B, C, or credit for the course. 796 divided by 1030 equals approximately 0.7728. Moving the decimal 2 places to convert this number to a percentage yields the 77.28% success rate. This data has been disaggregated for African Americans, Hispanics, and whites. For comparison purposes, the top row of tables contains the total data for all comparison groups: African American, Asian, Filipino, Hispanic, multi-race, Native American, Pacific Islander, unknown, and white. A few notes on the presentation. To create a cleaner look when pasting screenshots, you will see repetition in these tables. For example, AJ 108 through AJ 125 are included in each table. Note that the data are the same in each table, so you can use either table to gather data for these 8 courses. Note also that the totals at the bottom of a table are for all courses in the student group, regardless of how many tables it takes to present their data. For example, for total of all comparison groups, the total number of seats for AJ courses is 4,847, even though it takes 2 tables to present the AJ course data in its entirety. This will provide you totals for the student group regardless of which table you are viewing. Below these tables are the course success rate tables for African American, Hispanic, and white. Because the MSJC Hispanic population is relatively large and the African American population is relatively small, it typically takes more tables to display the Hispanic data. Note that the success rate for all comparison groups is 80.73%, or about 81%, while the success rate for African Americans is about 72%. Since these success rates are about 9% apart, we notice a general disproportionate impact. Note that the Hispanic AJ success is about 79%, while the white success is about 87%. This trend of higher success for whites is often seen regardless of the program. To identify the courses for CLO modifications, we are looking for relatively large enrollments and disproportionate impact. That is, we are looking for a relatively large seat count number and courses where the total average success rate is significantly larger, at least 6%, our local threshold, than that of one of our three equity groups, African American, Hispanic, White. Consider AJ 101. With 1,030 seats enrolled, it has the second highest seat count number. Only AJ 102, with 1,235, has a higher enrollment count. Note that the course success rate for AJ 101 is 77.28%. Now look at the table for African Americans. There were 60 enrolled seats over the past 3 years. 37 of them were successful, for a success rate of 61.67%. The African American success rate is almost 16% lower than the average, 77.28%. Since 16% is larger than 6%, our local threshold, we have disproportionate impact by our local MSJC definition. As we'll see shortly, AJ 101 was chosen for CLO modifications last year, so we will not choose it this year. For AJ 102, the situation is different. The success rate for the totals data is about 79%. However, for this course, the African American success rate is almost 81%. Since the African American success rate is higher by about 2% than the total success rate, there is no disproportionate impact here. Note that the Hispanic success rate is about 78%, which is only 1% lower than the totals rate of 79%. No disproportionate impact here either. Note that the white success rate for AJ 102 is almost 87%, about 8% above the average success for all comparison groups. Note that AJ 102 and AJ 101 were chosen for CLO modifications last year. So even had there been disproportionate impact in AJ 102 this year, we would not have chosen it this year. Note that the courses chosen for this year are AJ 103 and Corrections 101. To see why these courses were chosen, consider the enrollment counts for the totals group. Note that after AJ 102 and AJ 101, AJ 111 has the next highest enrollment seat count, 555, but its success rate, about 81%, is very close to the African American, 79%, the Hispanic, 79%, and white, 87% success rates. No disproportionate impact here. What about AJ 103? It has the next highest seat count, 441, and its success rate, 83%, is much higher than the African American success rate, 56%, so it was chosen for this year. Corrections 101 has a similar situation. It has a fair number of enrolled seats, 118, and even though there were relatively few African American students enrolled, 6, the African American success rate is about 10% below that for the totals group. Note that it is not always the case that African American success is lowest. Sometimes the Hispanic and white success rates constitute disproportionate impact for a given course. But for some programs, the choices are not as obvious. Here are the criteria that were used to choose courses for CLO modifications this year. As already noted, the search started with courses that had relatively high enrollment and disproportionate impact. But as you saw with Core 101, even though the course had 118 enrolled seats, there were only 6 African American students. Identifying true disproportionate impact becomes challenging as the population sizes of the total and equity groups decrease. Next, courses that had relatively high enrollments and low success in general were selected. After that, Courses foundational to the discipline or programs containing them were selected, regardless of the enrollment size. Finally, for disciplines having few courses, course selection was often determined by eliminating the courses chosen last year. Whatever was left was chosen for this year. Important, please don't take any of this to mean that classes with smaller enrollments or certain equity groups are less important than others. The plan is to improve CLOs for all our classes so that deeper lifelong learning, the learning required for success in our courses, programs, and life can be articulated, messaged, and measured. We are using equity concerns as the first criteria for the order in which these CLO innovations are created. But when equity is no longer the initial filter, we continue identifying courses using the criteria previously mentioned so that all courses are reviewed. This way, the learning of transportable applicable skills can be measured for all students. Below all the tables are the courses chosen for this year. You may add another course if you wish, but given all that is going on, sticking to just 2 courses this year would be prudent. To help remind you what goes where in this template, these courses have been populated in section 1B1, where you will provide CLOs for these courses. 1B3, where you will supply the assessment tools for the CLOs in 1B1, and 1B4, where you will supply the rubrics for the CLOs in 1B1. If you do choose a third course, enter it in section 1A1 and in section 1B1. Just below these courses are the courses chosen last year. If you have not yet created the CLOs for these courses, please do as soon as possible and include them in section 1C1 below. If you have created CLOs but have not yet created and submitted the assessment tools for these CLOs, please do that in section 1C1 as well. If you have not submitted the rubrics for these CLOs, please do that in section 1C2 below. To help orient you, these courses are listed in template sections 1C1 and 1C2. That is, as a reminder, these courses are listed in the text fields in sections 1C2 and 1C1. If there are issues with a chosen course, you can choose another course. For example, if a course is only taught by associate faculty, making scheduling the work challenging, or it is cross-listed and yours is not the parent discipline, you can substitute a different course. Please contact Program Review at msjc.edu to work with the Assessment and Program Review Coordinator to determine alternative courses. Include associate faculty as much as their workload allows. They will often have great suggestions for CLOs, assessment tools, and rubrics. Just be sensitive to the amount of driving and teaching they are likely already doing before you encourage them to do any more work. If you have not yet done so, hit Save Draft below section 1A3 and you are done. Also, check the Save All as Draft button before you leave. If it isn't grayed out, something somewhere isn't saved. You can hit this button to save all your changes or scroll back down and check the individual sections, hitting Save Draft as needed. You don't need to hit Publish or Publish All, as this functionality is currently disabled. If you have any questions or would like assistance, please contact Program Review at msjc.edu. The entire template needs to be completed no later than 19 November 2021. The wraps and cappers are due 17 December 2021. Thank you for your participation.